Salud amigos, tripulantes de nuestra querida
members of our dear contaminated and only spacecraft, which since the last time we met has turned around in its axis and continues developing events. It's good that you entered in statistics. We are improving. There's a strange change of what they sent an aircraft, and if it's Nimitz, these are nuclear aircraft that air carriers that have around 5,000 members of the crew, 300 crafts, and can turn around without any problem. Of course, each craft is the great craft together with the surface and submarine crafts, nuclear type, of course. There's around 5,000 members of the crew. It's so big, it's like a city floating. The new if they agree in a bar in some port and are able to go to land, sometimes they meet on land. They never saw each other on the craft. And, well, that's normal, of course. Well, I was looking last time at the monitors of our satellite services. I think we are consistent with reality. If not, we would just bring down whatever I have in the 4 monitors. Let's see updated events. Once again, it takes us to the Far East, and this is the old wound of Korea, Vietnam, and look at the encounters, the strategic encounters that are taking place.
Xi Jinping
China and Vietnam to improve high-level strategic communication. This comes from Hanoi. Chinese President Ping was shaking hands with the Vietnamese president and sent a very clear message. Visit to the country, Ping asked China and Vietnam to improve their high-level strategy to advance their bilateral relations. These statements were made when he discussed with the Vietnamese president in Hanoi what we're looking at during the state visit to the Southeastern Asia. It's a second visit of Vietnam by the senior authority of China. She emphasized that as international and regional relations are experimenting complex relations and countries confront challenges, both countries should improve strategic high-level communication. Both parties should consolidate the impulse of bilateral commerce and accelerate the alignment of their development strategies. The initiative of the Belt and Route proposed by China and the Vietnamese plan of 2 halls and 1 economic circle. She said that both countries should adequately settle differences and with the aim to improve maritime peace and use maritime resources. The Chinese Communist Party and government believe their relations with Vietnam are very important and are struggling to develop friendly relations with Vietnam and improve their strategic internal strategy in benefit of both peoples. Guo, in his turn, congratulated Chinese President's thought for a new era in the ruling principles of the party at the time of the National Congress of the Communist Party and the re-election of Xi. They said that Vietnam values many of the great developments, social developments of China. First Minister called upon China and Vietnam to develop their strategies, and in a meeting with his Vietnamese peer, he said that both countries should align their development strategies and talked about Belt and Road strategy proposed by China, two halls in one circle. By congratulating China and Vietnam as important partners and friends, he said that the important visit of Chinese president to Vietnam have started a new phase in the relation of both countries. Regarding the relations of China and ASEAN, Lee said that developing commercial relations have always been a priority in China, and said that China is willing to improve the relations with ASEAN countries to a much higher level. Rodrigo Duterte, president of the Philippines, said that he believes we're in Manila, of course. This is the best moment to improve bilateral cooperation between ASEAN and Korea, and our relations are starting a new age, and I'm sure cooperation will bring benefits to all. All the geopolitics are displacing towards the Far East. And here, President of South Korea says that I think it's the best moment to deepen bilateral relations between ASEAN and Korea, and our relations are starting a new age. I would like to present the initiative of South Korea to promote mutual development. This is made for a peaceful community, and that all governments will be better together. Presidents listened to these important declarations. Human rights was not addressed during these conversations. Secretary Harry L. Rock, the Speaker of the President of ASEAN, said that he would like to present initiatives for ASEAN community with the aim to the prosperity of both parties and peaceful communication. In this sense, we must consider that relations seem very warm and friendly, very sincere, and we have best friends here, and they have similar feelings towards former President Barack Obama. I can confirm that the situation of the Rohingya people was discussed, especially by the member states, specifically to this problem. Myanmar specifically said, one, they are in process of assisting. To the report made by Kofi Annan that welcomes humanitarian assistance and the process of repatriation for internal refugees will include in the 3 weeks following the signature an agreement and a memorandum with Bangladesh.
And Myanmar specifically address the Rohingya issues. Myanmar specifically said, number one, that they are in the process of attending.
History says that human rights and alleged extrajudicial murders were not discussed during Monday's discussions. U.S. President Trump and Rodrigo Duterte met and was one of the most expected meetings in Manila. Human rights groups pressing Trump to take a hard line against Duterte for its bloodful war against drugs, where thousands of people have been killed. Duterte's spokesman in a press conference said that Duterte had applied its anti-drug policy and explained this to Trump. But now there are surprising news. 3 attack groups headed by U.S. aircraft are on the southeast coast of South Korea while Trump visits Asia. This is an exaggerated for some people, demonstration of force. The Reagan and other carriers, super carriers. South Korean captain, Navy captain, was there interacting, as you can see. The armies of South Korea and the United States are fully prepared to carry out combined operations at any time and any place. We will dissuade calls made by the enemy based on strong alliance between South Korea and the United States. The Public Matters Chief Rohai-Chu also made some statements. While these force demonstration was very meaningful, 3 nuclear carriers and all the fleet that comes together usually in any displacement. The North Korean Air Forces show usual activity. Nevertheless, South Korea is prepared for all kinds of possible actions by North Korea. This was declared by the Chief of Personnel and Spokesman, Rohai-Chu, Chief of Public Matters. Provocative actions by North Korea was the message. South Korean military flags, 3 attack carriers exercising together in those waters. Very strange force demonstration. But on the streets, 1,000 anti-Trump demonstrators confront the Manila police when the ASEAN summit is starting. They want nothing to do with Trump. The banners said, non-Trump. Demonstrators were kept away by the police, others were uncontrolled. They have their arms up to protect themselves from the water spray. Several police are using water hoses, and the police pushes the police push their protectors while demonstrators push against them. This was a demonstration of who backs first. Several policemen confront the demonstrators. First aid was necessary. No war and no Trump. That is the welcome given to Trump in the Far East. No war, no Trump. U.S. troops outside of Asia. They hold banners crossing out Trump's faces and Duterte's face. This is a change of design of his peculiar hairdo. And the man thanks. It's great to be with the First Minister of Australia and Japan. You know them well. We have had several meetings, and now we have others. And mainly, he talked about trade, North Korea and other topics. But we are advancing very good dialogue, and I think that I hope this dialogue would continue. Would you like to say something, Mr. First Minister? Malcolm Turnbull says, "Thank you, Mr. President. It's great to be with you and First Minister Abe. We're working closely with the same values and focus to assure that North Korea recovers its senses and try to retain provocation. Peace and stability are threatening the prosperity of thousands of people. We're going to work together to assure this." The Japanese premier said that for us 3, the immediate challenge is North Korea, and as very close partners, Japan, U.S., and Australia share interests commerce and strategic interests as well. I hope we have a significant discussion, especially on North Korea, to assure regional peace. And I think that for us it's of the essence to reaffirm close cooperation. So I look forward to this productive discussion with both leaders. Trump took the floor again and talked about his two commercial partners. It's around 300 billion of sales, especially to Chinese companies, and increased substantially. But we have made great progress in promise, and we have deficits with almost all the world, which we will reduce substantially and soon. Australian First Minister says, except us, you have an excellent balance with us. Trump said it's the only one, and if I review it, I probably discover that it's not real. Well, these are ironies on economic deficits. He continued saying that they will make an important statement on Wednesday, and this has been a very fruitful trip and very good to listen to other nations. They have treated us with respect, especially Japan and South Korea, because they have been very respectful for the people of the United States, and we appreciate that. The rug was red, as probably no one received, and that is also a sign of respect for me. I'm very proud of that. So we will make a declaration on Wednesday. Thank you very much. He has a big ego. Donald Trump talked about the Korean missiles with the first ministers and said that there's much progress made in negotiations. People on the streets showed not very nice pictures of their faces, and they burned banners of international leaders during the Manila summit. They have posters of the characters. We are looking at United States, Japan, Russia, Australia. Ban Trump, well, that's a welcome. Ban Trump in Philippines, ban Trump. And they burnt, that was a message. They don't believe in anyone, and they prepare the images of all and to burn them. New Patriotic Alliance, Metro Manila. And Platino made some statements after these great guests were burnt. They were really direct. We are here to articulate our protest against an Eastern Asia summit, the one that Trump said was great, because we believe the summit will lead to more lack of housing, hunger, and more violence against the poor of our country.
And violence against the poor in our country.
United States, imperialist and terrorist, they say on this great... and they also burnt pictures of world leaders. Around 1,000 demonstrators confronted the police when they tried to arrive to the convention center. Look at this picture of Trump where they held the ASEAN summit. Activists made their demonstrations 1 kilometer away from the place and burnt a 4-meter picture of Trump with a swastika behind and money around.
bilateral meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte. We believe that the meeting will not bring any benefits for the Filipino people, but would rather worsen.
Raymond Palatino dice, estamos aquí para articular
Raymond
nuestra protesta contra la
Palatino
cumbre de Asia Oriental porque creemos
protests
que la cumbre
against
conducirá a una mayor
the
falta de
summit
viviendas,
because
hambre
it
y
will lead
violencia
to
contra
more
los pobres de
lack
nuestro país.
of housing, hunger, and violence against the poor of our country. Imperialist and terrorist are some of the soft words. They're burning Trump alive. Philippine activists burnt world leader pictures. 1,000 demonstrators confronted the police while trying to arrive to the place of the summit. Trump was burnt in the protest. New Alliance by General Secretary Renato Reyes. Meanwhile, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that I cannot hide my deep concern by the dramatic mobilization from Myanmar. It's a possible source of instability in the region. So I see with satisfaction constructive approaches by ASEAN. I am deeply concerned by world terrorism, even in this region. The United Nations is giving priority to the support to regional national efforts to combat terrorism and prevent extremism. ASEAN summit, everybody had his time to make important statements. In response to the growing response to violence in Japan, we were continue fighting terrorism and extreme violence, and support cooperation to the government of Myanmar and the treatment of the Rakhine people. North Korea is an imminent, serious threat that we never confronted. We have to increase pressure at the highest level, including the UN Security Council. This was declared by Japan in Manila. They are ready to deal with militants and extremists, as well as to cooperate with Myanmar government and to take care of the people of Rakhine. However, a draft statement of Manila summit does not mention this topic. This situation has been described by the United Nations as a true ethnic cleansing. A paragraph of the release, he met with the leaders, and here everybody declares the horrors people had undergone. The militaries killed people and burnt our homes. We couldn't take that anymore. Bangladesh will reach an agreement with Myanmar to return the refugees, according to Foreign Affairs Minister. Refugees have seen unimaginable horrors, and they don't have another option but to abandon their homes. Around 500,000 refugees have fled Myanmar to Bangladesh. Around 300,000 that were already in the country. The 65-year-old refugee fled from Myanmar with 6 relatives, and they arrived to Bangladesh after walking many days through forests without food. They just had received assistance supplies, heaters, cubes, and blankets. Remember unimaginable scenes. People killed, houses burnt, girls raped. I couldn't take that anymore. When she was asked if she had plans to return to her country, she says that was out of discussion. This is an endless drama. Rohingya Muslims are on the Myanmar border trying to escape to Bangladesh. The new cities with the worst level of life and the search for another place to go.
guardias de la policía fronteriza en Myanmar,
border police
caminando por
guards
las
in
zonas
Myanmar
de
walking
playa,
around the
gente cerrando
beaches,
con
people
alambres.
closing this zone with
La
barbed
policía fronteriza de
wire.
Myanmar, un teniente coronel, Mintik dice,
Lieutenant Colonel says that we're not taking any
porque
measure
no
against them
queremos que
because
se
we
metan en
don't want them
problemas.
to get into trouble.
Unos 1,000 musulmanes
Around
rohingya,
1,000
desesperados por
Rohingya
abandonar
Muslims
Myanmar,
were
han estado
desperate
acampando en
to
la playa,
abandon
expuestos
Myanmar,
al sol en el Golfo de
camped
Bengala,
on
a la
the
espera de que
beach
alguna
of the
embarcación los lleve
Bengala
a
Gulf,
refugiarse en
waiting
Bangladesh.
for a ship to take them to
Habiendo mantenido
Bangladesh.
prácticamente prohibidas las partes septentrionales del estado de Karagine desde su
Since
inicio de la operación,
they had prohibited the Karahine areas, things are getting very complicated.
Un teniente coronel del policía dijo que
Lieutenant
sus
Colonel
oficiales
of Police
no
said
intervinieron cuando los
his
barcos vinieron a
officers did
buscarlos.
not participate when
600.000
the
rohingyas
boats
han
arrived
huido a
to search
Bangladesh
for them.
para buscar refugio en campos para
More than
víctimas.
600,000 have fled
Los
to
musulmanes
Bangladesh.
varados en la playa, los que no han
They
podido
have been
salir, y esto se acumula
camping
otra vez como
on
un
the
gigantesco
beach, and this
campo
is
de
accumulating
concentración.
as a huge concentration camp.
Limpieza étnica es lo
Ethnic
que dicen altos
cleansing
funcionarios de
is
la ONU.
what
Eso
high
es lo que está
officers of
ocurriendo
the United
aquí.
Nations say.
Y no
That's
hay
what's
otra
happening
manera de
here.
explicarlo.
There's no other way of explaining it.
Bueno, como se ve, un
As you
drama
can see, this
absolutamente
is
en
an
pleno desarrollo.
absolute
Y esto es solo el
drama,
comienzo.
and this is only the
Dejamos esta que
start,
son
the
las
beginning.
dramáticas de las imágenes que podíamos mostrar.
These are the images we can show you. We'll have a brief pause.
Bueno, hasta ahora no hay nada que
Until
supere lo que
now,
tenemos en la pauta.
there's
Si así
nothing
fuera, lo bajaríamos
else we
de
have.
inmediato. Estoy revisando 3 señales.
I'm reviewing 3
no van por delante de
signals,
nuestra
and
pauta. Eso está
they
muy bien.
are not ahead of
Breve
our
corte, ya
ranking.
volvemos.
That's very good. A brief pause.
Today, watch an exclusive interview with the Argentinian soccer player Diego Armando Maradona, conducted by Marcela Heredia from Caracas. The special interview. Today, only on Telesur.
A sign of resistance to hatred and injustice, Bill Fletcher Jr. conducts a discussion and analysis space to reveal the social struggles of Black people on the Global Africa. Wednesdays, only on Telesur. Closely follow the most important facts around the world with a wholesome view. We offer you to be where the news are happening with our team of 25 correspondents deployed around the globe. Live and experience the realities of our people from the South. Weekdays, only on Telesur.
Lo que nosotros seguimos creando generalmente sale del corazón y son cosas que nos enseñaron nuestros padres.
Cómo caminamos hoy, cómo pensamos, cómo actuamos, cómo decidimos.
De poner en valor nuestras raíces, de dónde venimos y hacia dónde vamos.
Telesur is branching out into new territories to democratize information.
It's insight into the world from a South American perspective.
We now broadcast live in English, and we want to share with you interviews with the region's most prominent figures, reports that highlight resistance and resilience, and in-depth analyses of political and social realities in Latin America and the Caribbean and the rest of the world.
Join us as we build a new communications model that serves to promote the integration of our people. Only on Telesur.
más acontecimientos en pleno
come
desarrollo
back with
y por
more
si hubiera pocos problemas en la zona que voy a mencionar.
updates.
Ahora, Irak e Irán
Now,
afectados por
in
un terremoto.
Iraq and Iran,
Información más reciente
affected
que
by an
tenemos
earthquake. The most recent information,
que toda esta zona
all this zone
ha sido objeto de un
has
movimiento
been
sísmico
subject of a significant earthquake. We're trying to receive information
algo hemos podido recabar.
and
Mientras tanto,
have
estoy viendo
received
si los satélites tienen
something.
algo en vivo, pero no.
I'm watching if satellites have any live, but we don't. They're talking about other topics like United Nations declarations, so let's go to what I just announced. A typical construction, and this is an emblematic tower that has not is still standing, but these didn't have the same luck. Iraq and Iran, and in an earthquake here, it ruined the roof of a mosque in a central zone. We'll see Sheikh Aryan, member of the Sunni delegations, saying that there were no victims. People are withdrawing large blocks. Things have been difficult, as you can see. At least until now, 4 people dead in Iraq and 100 more in Iraq. When this earthquake happened in these countries, the U.S. Geology Service said the earthquake says 6.3, while another service talked about 6.5, with the center in Bingui in Kurdistan, next to the border with Iran. The last information are rising death tolls. At least 450 people died and more than 2,500 were wounded by the earthquake in the Iraqi border, according to ISNA agency. The forensics office is expecting the death toll to increase, so there must be 500. The Iraqi side was more seriously affected. 75 kilometers southeast to Manila. Earthquake was an unexpected event, and this happened to me. Declared survivors. There were no facilities in the area. I had no access to water or electricity. The other man said, I'm not in good conditions. I've been in the hospital of Kermanshah during 18 hours. Well, the situation is kind of tense. Iran declared 1 day of mourning. Erdogan offered his condolences to the victims of the earthquake, the Turkish president. I would like to express my feelings to the people of Iraq and Iran for those who died, and I wish that the wounded people recover. With the coordination of the Natural Disaster Agency of Turkey and the Red Cross, the Turkish Red Cross, some trucks have been sent to Iraq together with all the urgent support like medications, blankets, tents, and we'll continue doing it. Turkish president gave a press conference to offer his condolences and support to the victims. At the Ataturk airport, Erdogan said that Afad had sent a convoy with 50 trucks with assistance, humanitarian assistance for the most urgent needs like medications, blankets, tents, and first aid. At least 6,600 people were wounded in Iran. The magnitude is 7.3. now they say. Kurdish health officers said that at least 6 people died in Iraq and 68 wounded. A weather official talked about 6.5 with an epicenter in the Kurdistan, near the border with Iran. The residents of the city of Diyarbakir in the southeast of Turkey could have also felt it, but there were no victims reported. This is assistance to Iraq after the earthquake. The Turkish Red Cross are sending humanitarian assistance to the earthquake. They transported trucks with 3,000 tents, heaters, blankets to the Iraqi border, as declared by Turkish Red Cross president. Turkish military separately sent a carrier transporting military assistance. People died in Iran when, on Sunday, the earthquake happened, and rescuers are still trying to rescue people who are under the ruins. Irani talk about 336 people died. Russian president expresses his condolences to Hassan Rouhani for the earthquake, and of course the Turkish president as well. My condolences for the earthquake on the east of Iran, as written in a telegram by Putin, and express the will of his country to send the necessary aid. Putin said Erdogan thanks him for the visit, and Putin is always waiting for the translation. Our relations can be considered fully restored, he said. Even if last year a drop in the essential product volume of 38%, this year increased 38% in the first 8-9 months of this year. We are working practically in all directions in the field of security and very closely in our settlement in Syria. I'm very happy to hold conversations with you. We have had very good discussions on current matters and operation basis.
В оперативном ключе обсуждать текущие вопросы. Сильно bir araya gelip gündemdeki maddeleri dile getirme imkanımız olduğundan minnettarım. Очень рад вас видеть. Tekrar sizi görmeye çok sevindim. Hoş geldiniz. Özellikle bu normalleşme süreci içerisinde.
In any case, Mr. Putin, I am very happy to see you. And Erdogan said that our frequent meetings have strengthened our relations, and this is the case in the case of Turkey and the Russian Federation. Putin also welcomed his peer Erdogan, and they discussed on how reaching a political solution in Syria. Now we are in the United Nations, and our representative, Venezuela, repudiates the decision of the Security Council of Venezuela that plans to sanction Venezuela. We have rejected this because the situation in Venezuela is a matter for Venezuelans to resolve, and of course it's no threat to international peace and security. As in my capacity of Bolivian representative, I say that we reject this attitude by the United States that tries to instrumentalize destabilize the Security Council of the United Nations, but also is trying to interfere in the internal matters of Venezuela. And there's an essential reason for that. One, of course, their intention of interference, but the answer to these motivations are clear and are related to the fact that Venezuela is a country with the highest oil reserves in the world. We reject this attitude, and we will continue condemning it. Having said that, I give the floor to Venezuelan ambassador. Thank you, dear ambassador of Bolivia. Thank you, dear ambassador of the Russian Federation. And thank you, dear ambassador of China, for being here with us and for your solidarity at this time. Venezuela reports the illegal nature of this informal meeting called by the U.S. delegation to discuss internal matters of our nation. It is a clear violation to the purposes and principles of the UN Charter. It is a lie of the United States when they make the world believe, and particularly they try to make Venezuelans believe that the Security Council is discussing the matter of Venezuela. The meeting that is held at this time in the United Nations is part of the political agenda, the mission of the United States that, by the way, has much of a personal agenda. In this meeting called by the United States, as you can see, do not have key countries of the security country as Russia, China, Bolivia, and Egypt. And the ambassadors of the Security Council that attended this meeting are not much, because they understand that Venezuela is not part of the Security Council agenda because it does not represent a threat to international peace and security. This meeting, this farce, is a hostile act by the United States, and clearly an interfering act that violates the principle of sovereignty of a UN member state. The United States has disseminated a systematic campaign against our country, including coercive, unilateral, and illegal activities against our officials and national economy, in detriment to the entire Venezuelan people. The international community must know that Venezuela will resolve its internal problems within its constitution and laws. We reject any kind of tutorship or interference. The United States is trying to use the Security Council as a warrantor for peace, international peace and security. It's a paradox to see that the United States pretends to be a defensor of human rights when its country applies the death penalty and discriminates minorities, mistreats migrants, has jails as Guantanamo, and a long history of wars and invasions, not only in our continent but also in our brother peoples, Arab and Asian peoples, where they continuously violate the people. We reject this political manipulation by the United States as a permanent member of the Security Council that abuses its power to try to impose its geopolitical agenda in detriment of multilateralism and peace. The government of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela has made a call for dialogue, and we will insist on this with our Venezuelan mission. As announced next November 15, we will retake negotiations with the opposition in the Dominican Republic. In spite of the U.S. threats, please be certain that Venezuela will not stop its efforts in favor of peace, participative democracy, human rights, and economic development of the Venezuelan people within its right to free determination and legislation. We are not alone. Venezuela must be respected. Thank you very much. We just received an official release we will share with you, and says as follows. Venezuela repudiates a decision of the Security Council of the European Union that plans to sanction the Venezuelan people. The Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela soundly rejects the decision of the Council of the European Union of sanctioning illegal and inefficient sanctions against the people of Venezuela in violation to the sovereignty, self-determination of people, and non-interference in internal matters of the states as established in the UN Charter. European institutions are showing their sad subordination to the United States governments by following the aggressive Washington line of conduct. The European Council justifies its actions with arguments that are copied from the documents generated by Trump administration. The European Council also pretends to convince the world of an alleged consensus among its member states to adopt these hostile measures, when in reality the large European economies exerted sound pressures against the rest members of the bloc and the European Union, showing clearly the inequalities inside the Union. It is not a coincidence that the European Union Council adopts these offensive actions just before the reactivation of the National Dialogue Table in the Dominican Republic, announced so much by the national and executive and the opposition in Venezuela. The European Union, contrary to what is happening, has proved hostile position that only seek the failure of national dialogue and seek to increase political violence, death, and destruction as a mechanism to access to power through in unconstitutional means. We must remember that with the democratic election of the National Constituent Assembly, Venezuela has gone back to social political peace. The election of state governments was carried out in peaceful conditions, and in December municipal elections will take place as part as the sound electoral plan of Venezuelan government. These pretensions not only assault Venezuelan people, but we must remind them that almost 1 million Europeans chose Venezuela as their home. Political and economic violence against Venezuela is being performed by the European Union that is establishing a dangerous precedent with, in Latin America, talking against a democratic state just because our democracy is not consistent with our elite and corporative model. The peoples of the world and the international community must be aware that Venezuela's priorities are not weapons and military equipment, and this inefficient attack against our internal security. Our goal is to preserve national peace through dialogue and development with social justice to overcome present problems. Unlike the countries that are members of the European Union, we do not deviate attention by attacking other nations. The European Council should prevent the equipment
en algunos de sus estados
used in some member states through unbelievable police repression to avoid the sacred right to decide in democracy and peace through elections. The Venezuelan Republic of Venezuela reaffirms its independent and sovereign condition and rejects these hostile acts before the international community. No decision made by European elites will break the sovereign decision of the Venezuelan people to be free. The government of Venezuela demands the European Union to stop their unfriendly actions and a copy of the actions by the U.S. government. We reiterate that the Venezuelan people, faithful to their libertarian inheritance, will be firm against any attack or threat, and that the Venezuelan government reserves taking decisions in different fields to guarantee national peace and sovereignty. This is the official release of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela that needs no other comments, because we are making news in our dear, contaminated and only planet. We will see how it is floating in the space. Of course, we wish all of you a very good night, and we thank you for being with us from Studio 3 of Venezolana Televisión. We end our program, Dossier, the main program and satellite information. This is Walter de Martinez, producer and conductor. Thank you very much.